Hello, I'm Carolyn Pars, and welcome to Reframing Your Message for Changing Times. I know so much has changed in the last few weeks, couple of months tops, going from a administration. I know we have a lot of energy people on our call today, as well as in health and wellness. That we went from massive climate change legislation and messaging, and then all the way to the other side, right, where that's buried, and we're talking about still about energy, but in another way. So we're going to see how we can work with that today. And even though many of you committed to sustainability and the environment, to pivot our message, reframe our message, and not lose who we are, right? Not lose our mission, but pivot it to the customer that we're talking to. So with that, I am going to jump right in and do our share. And here we are, reframing your message for changing times. So many of you might have seen this already. Hold on, here we go. These words were posted in the New York Times, right, recently, and there's over 200 words here that it was a conglomeration of over 30 documents that were government documents that now have words that are not to be used or disappearing in this particular administration. We're seeing words like clean energy, right? We're seeing words like even the word woman is in there. Pollution is in there. So, and as we know, there's equity and diversity are all part of this this languaging that we have to take a look at and pivot, yet still stay true, like I said, to who we are. So it is a very big change, but here it is, folks. We've been here before, maybe not as weird as we are right now, but we've been here before. I've been involved for over 20 years in energy and the climate and the environment, and 2008, 2009, 2010, right? There was when the market crashed. They said solar and clean energy was immune, and it wasn't. And then fast forward to the pandemic, another time where we had to make a very fast move overnight. And here we are again. So it's maybe a little bit more, it feels more restrictive in languaging, but I'm going to show you today how to start the process and craft your message so that it meets your customer, because that's what it's really about. So, where is your customer now, right? When I say customer or client, where are they now on this spectrum? And it depends on who you're talking to. I have a little sad face there because we're focusing on sustainability and the environment, right? And many of us are discombobulated or not sure where to go, right? And it's the results really in their fear, anxiety, or frustration or overwhelm. All of these things are coming up. And one of the big pieces of this for today, and I'll show in a few slides down, we're going to concentrate on this, is knowing your customer, where they're at, and expressing empathy for the moment. Okay, very important in these times. So, reframing your message to meet your customer where they are now. For those of you that don't know me, hi, I'm Carolyn Pars. I'm CEO of Mind Over Markets. And for the last 20 years, we've done messaging in this sector on how to create clear and compelling messaging that moves your market and grows your company. I'm also the host of Just Power podcast, which is about creating a clean energy future. I know we can't say that right now, but it depends on who we talk to, of course. But a clean energy future, leaving no one behind. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a little introduction for those of you that may not know who I am. But we're talking today. I'm going to give you the elements of reframing your message and then showing you how it works in a messaging framework and how you can apply that to your website, and whether it's a homepage or a landing page for these times. Okay, so the first and probably the most important piece that you have to start with is listening to your customer now. Things have changed. If they change for you, they change for them, right? So going back to your customer, whoever that is, and you might say, Carolyn, we have many customers. I want you to focus on one really important customer for you because each one of those customers deserves a story of their own. So have in your mind, and it could be the government. That's a big one right now, right? Or it could be your startup. So it could be a different audience that maybe it's a homeowner. But think about that customer right now, right? And know that what was true for them months ago may not be so now. Now, it could be that you might have customers that are actually happy about the shift that's happening. So you'll need to focus on that. But for overarching for today, we're focused on sustainability and the environment. I was at an NREL conference. That's the National Renewable Energy Lab just a couple of days ago, their big conference, which, by the way, I heard was halved this year because of what's happening, right? And when I went around the tables and talked to some of the exhibitors, what they were pitching was shifting from a low carb future or decarbonizing now to needing the massive amounts of energy we need, advanced energy, as it's being called right now, for AI, to build our future, right? So that we can be energy independent. So the focus shifted, but we still need, especially in the energy sector, we still need to have all the energy that we need. And obviously, we're seeing that gas and oil are part of the conversation. So we have to remember that and change our messaging accordingly. So I don't want you to focus so much of like substituting words right now, but instead framing an entire message that your customer needs to hear. Okay? So whatever you led with probably last year, right, is not relevant anymore. And I'm going to show you examples of like where my company was, and then where we're going, and then pull up some of websites, volunteers we've had to give them tips on where they need to go now, or where they are and what they need to change. So it's the second part of this so you're going to listen to your customer and you're going to identify the one significant problem that they're experiencing. Okay, now there might be many, but you got to hone in on one. Don't have 5 different problems and hit them all at once with that. What is that one significant problem, right, that they are experiencing? You might have 2, but you're going to focus on one. Okay, and you're going to line your message, right, with that. You're going to line their problem with what you have to offer. Now, that might need to be reframed. So, like I said, if you're working like in the government sector, instead of saying creating clean energy for the climate crisis, it might be building now for a future with advanced energy because of the expansion of AI. AI needs massive amount of energy right now, right? 4 times more than the internet. So electrification. So we're still talking energy, we're just reframing it. So what you lead with matters. Now I'm not going to say you can never say low carbonization. Hey, by the way, that's not on the list. But what you lead with, you might still say it, but what you lead with is what is right for your customer. Okay, so identify that one significant problem that they're experiencing. Now, when we take a look at problems, there's levels to it. There's actually 3 levels to your customer's problem. First is the external. What's happening out there? So right now, if you're working like in if you don't have, let's say, the government as your customer, but you're still working to decarbonize our future, you might want to focus on that, right? And just stay true to your message there. But if you're working with the government or around the government, you need to reframe and say, you know what, we're building for a future. And we, like I said, we need massive amount of energy. And that is the problem that they're dealing with right now. But there's an internal part to that problem. That's the external. And the internal is what it makes us feel in the moment because of that. Okay. And that's where the empathy comes in. So so the problem, let's just say, of needing to build for our future could create the internal is the anxiety around that for the government, that they need to do this fast. They need to do this quick while they have all their ducks in a row. Okay. So that's what's probably happening, part of what's happening there. And then there's the third part is the philosophical. Okay. So the internal, the external, and the philosophical. What's the philosophical? The philosophical is why it's just plain wrong that we're in this position right now. Okay. Why it's just a colossal injustice. So, using that example, let's just say from a government standpoint, the philosophical might be America is the greatest country in the world, and we should be leading at this. And it's just plain wrong that we're not, and we have to XYZ to do that. So there's always this philosophical piece to that for, let's just say, for the company that's saying that's really talking about decarbonization. They might still stick with the climate. They might not use climate crisis or climate mitigation, but the word climate alone without all of the other words around it. And that's really, I want you to notice that. It's the additional words that can cause being on the list that we don't want to be on. Okay. But we can talk about climate. Or we can talk about our environment to even pull back. Or we can talk about, for instance, sustainability becomes the health and well-being of our families and of our future. So what does that mean? Those words mean to your client and speaking from there. Okay. So I'm constantly going to bring you back to your customer's lens. It's about your customer, right? So what their problem is and knowing what those three levels are. Very important. Okay. Now, after you identified what that problem is that they're experiencing, you got to step up and be the guide. What I mean by that, the guide is the person or the company that guides your customer to where they need to go. Okay. So I've often said in many of my other workshops that your client or customer is the hero of the story, not you. Your customer is, and you are the guide that's going to get them to where they go. So what does the guide do to do that? And here's where the empathy part. In times like these, when we've had these massive shifts that discombobulate our population, we got to turn up the volume of empathy. What do we mean by that? Empathy is just like, I get this. We get this. We understand how hard this is right now. And the second piece to that, you have to follow up with the authority part, the credibility of who you are. So we get it. We understand it. President Clinton years ago in a famous speech said, I feel your pain. That was empathy. Okay. And then the authority is the history of your company, that we've been doing this for X number of years, or we've installed millions of solar panels, or we've grown over 2 billion trees. So, and we've been XYZ. So they feel like they're in good hands, right? So empathy married with authority is the magic piece here. Okay. So when you're thinking about reframing your message, make sure you can lead. Now, you can lead with the authority piece too, but you have to bring in the empathy. These have to live together. So important. Okay. So you being the guide and leading with empathy and authority, and then you give them a plan. You give them a plan, a 3-step, simple, 4 steps, no more, plan to get where they want to go in this time. And the first, like number 1 could be give us a call or schedule a demo or a call, like a strong call to action, right? And number 2 could be we'll devise a plan for you that will X, Y, Z, like what happens. So you give them that 3 steps. Don't give them multiple, like 6, 7 steps. It'll overwhelm them. Too much information, too fast. And I'll show you how this plays out on real websites. And then you call them to action, right? So many websites I see don't do that. They'll have learn more or explore this, these buttons, right? And they never call them to action. What do you want your client or customer to do? Give them a strong call to action. Okay. So these pieces on reframing your message, I'm going to show you an example just in my own website, how we did that. And then we're going to bring up others. Okay. So before we do that, I want to show you how this works out in the actual messaging framework. This framework is based on StoryBrand, which Don Miller's work, which I've been certified in many years ago in that. But it's based on elements of tried and true elements of storytelling, and that work. And if you go to a movie or you read a book, it plays exactly this way all the time. It's like a formula and it works. And now it's going to take that formula and really relate that to your brand. So I gave you some pieces to that, and I'm going to show you how it comes out into a messaging framework. So you have a character. That's your customer. But I'm going to put it in a story frame for right now. Let's say it's Star Wars Luke Skywalker, right? The character. He's the hero of the story, and he's your client. Okay, think about it that way. But he has a problem, right? At the very beginning of the story, he's far from being a hero. He needs a guide to help him get where he wants to go, but he's lost. As a matter of fact, the movie starts off with him being a kind of wandering, lost orphan. Both of his parents had died, and he's got a problem, right? He has dreams of becoming a Jedi, but he is so far from being a Jedi until he meets a guide, right? That guy, Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? Who teaches him the skillfulness of how to be, right? How to really be a Jedi. He actually has 2 guides. And then there was Yoda, the wise one, that gave him the philosophies and the internalization of what it is to be a true Jedi. All right, you're that guide. You're the one, that empathy and authority to help your customer in this moment, in this time. Okay. So after he meets the guide, that guide gives him a plan on how to achieve what he's looking to achieve. Okay. And he calls him to action. It's not just like, here's the plan. Now, good luck with that, right? He gives him an action step and steps to go so that he can get to win the day, right? To experience success and avoid the consequences of failure. That is your story arc. How does that play out in your business? Okay. So what do your customers want? I asked you at the beginning, like, what do they want? What's that problem they want? Lead with that. Okay. Understand and find out what the problem is from an external, internal, and philosophical way, so that you can really speak to the wholeness of what's happening to them. And then position yourself as the guide to get them where they need to go. And create that plan of action, right? For a simple plan of action that gets them there. And then Make sure you have your calls to action. Are they clear? Are they straightforward? Does your customer know what to do now so that they can improve their life to get where they want to go, right? So you really actually paint the picture of what they need. That's like your marketing positioning. Like, what is that benefit at the end of the day? And don't forget this part of it. Really important. Make sure you let them know the consequences. We call them the stakes. What are the stakes if you don't do this? What are the stakes if you avoid this or stay status quo? What can go wrong here? A lot can go wrong. You can't. So a lot of people went on pause button for a while because they were like, wow, watching what's happening out there, but you can't stay in pause for long. All right. Or it'll just pass you by. You need to move into action. You need to know what your client needs right now, and you need to align that with what you have to offer. Okay. So this is the arc and the messaging framework that we're talking about, and I'll show you how I did that. So just to reiterate, listen deeply, identify that one significant problem they're experiencing, and then be the guide to lead them, show them the path by giving them a plan and a call to action. And this last piece, I said already, but I want to just pull it out again because it's so important, is that you need to align your message with your customers' needs right now, but staying true to your mission. Because, customers and the consumers and your clients, they're smart. Like if you do a 180 now and all of a sudden you lose your message, your mission, and then 4 years from now you're changing that again, they see that, right? And there's a lot of companies doing that right now. And how it's done, that could backfire on your business. So stay true to your mission, especially, even internally, right? But be able to pivot and be fluid with your message to meet the times. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of hope here. So there's a couple of surveys that have happened after this new administration came in, and this is one from BDO, and it says that more than 75% of CFOs expect to increase or maintain their sustainability investment, right, after this administration. Now, here's the thing about that. Let me just back up there before I say this, is that they interviewed 500 CFOs, and ranging from companies that were under 250 million all the way up and above 3 billion, across a whole spectrum from manufacturing to technology. And 81% of the companies said they were US only companies. Okay. And this survey came in after our recent election. So 75%, that's a good number because we were seeing different numbers, okay? But here's the thing. Only 22% of them said they had plans on sticking with the low carbon footprint reduction, messaging around that, or climate change mitigation. And they were pivoting to, 40% said they were pivoting to focus on well-being, sustainability, but from a well-being and health standpoint, and also sustainable product development at this time. So even though maybe outwardly your message is moving on internally, they're developing plans not only internally for their products, but also for their working on their supply chain management. So pivot happens inside and out. Here's another survey that happened for the energy sector, an ICF survey of over 100 utility leaders. And the survey was about exploring their challenges with capacity right now and plans for electrification and technology. And the big takeaway, there was a lot to this, but the big takeaway was this, which I found really uplifting, is that they knew that their programs would have to be retooled, remessaged, right? But Their missions of delivering clean, reliable, affordable energy has not changed. It's all to support that. Okay. That is overwhelmingly what happened. And I can give you, if you want to get that surveys, I'll make those available to you. That was good news. Okay. And for those who operate in many states, I just wanted to get a little snapshot of where we are with the states. It's not a big surprise, but these are the 24 states that even after our last election agreed to stay with their goals around the Paris Agreement. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't still do work in those other states. It's just that your messaging needs to accommodate that. Okay, so just knowing that this is kind of the landscape that we're looking at right now. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at the framework in action. And I'm just going to bring up my website. This is my website that's actually changed. This is the message I had last year that's changing. Biden administration, billions of dollars were flooding into the marketplace. That's why so many people and so many companies emerged. That's why last year's NREL was flooded. It's because so many companies were starting around and getting funding around clean energy and going into communities with the Justice 40 money. So our messaging was about making your mark in this space, right? And we help, and there's a subhead about helping with creating clear and compelling messaging to connect more customers and grow. So it was about growing your business, but mostly about making your mark. Okay. And now it's shifted. Okay. That message, still my core is always about creating that messaging, clear messaging, but it's different now because it's now reframing your messaging, which is why you're here today. Reframing your messaging for changing times, right? And to transform today's challenges and tomorrow's opportunities. And so you see that pivot that we did it's the same company, we have the same values, but our customer is having different problems now. And we reframed our message for that. Make sense? Okay, I'm going to do a stop share, and Joelle is going to bring up, my assistant today is going to bring up that reframe. Joe, you can bring that up now, the reframe. I want to show you how it plays out in a website. You just saw reframing your message, but remember, we're going to talk about that story arc and the filter and how each section of the message is shown up on the homepage. So Joelle, here we go. Thank you. No, that's not it, Joelle. Stop that. It's the other one. Okay. Take 1 minute for that. Okay. Let's see if I might have this. Let's see if I have this here. Okay, actually I have it right here. So Joelle, never mind. Here we go. So I'm going to go through this because you're going to see the parts of the messaging filter and a framework in here. Here's the header, and your header has three jobs. It has to answer, what do you do? How do you make my life better? How do you make your client's life or customer's life better? How do I buy from you? How do I engage with you? What's that direct call to action? Remember I said that? So reframe your message, right? we help businesses create clear and compelling messages. That's what we do, so that we can transform. This is what the benefit is, to transform today's challenges into tomorrow's opportunities. And let's connect today. Direct call to action. Now, when we start scrolling down, the next section is the stakes. Remember, I talked about the stakes, like what could go wrong? This creates a sense of urgency. Right? People don't act unless there's a sense of urgency. So speaking right to my customer, the landscape for sustainability and environment just changed dramatically. So should your messaging. And these are just some questions like, is your language use now restricted? Are sales and leads slowing down? Have your projects been paused? These are after interviewing my clients, these are some of the things that are happening for them and they're worried about. So we call it like a little bit like, I hate using this term, but it's like putting a little salt on the wound, because it agitates the problem. You want them to move into action, and sometimes we need to do that. But then we come right into our value proposition. Like, what are those 3 big benefits of doing business with us right now? And so evolve your message to meet your customers where they are now. Reframe, respond, and regenerate. I'm not going to read through all of this, but I want to give you an idea how the flow happens, right? And people are scrolling down. We're on these devices called smartphones 75% of the time. So make sure your message has the whole story is happening right there. Okay. And they're not clicking here, there, and everywhere. Here's the guide section, right? And there's empathy. You read through that, it has empathy and authority, right? Both of that. We've been working in this for 20 years, and we get where we understand what's happening right now, and you're in good hands. And then it's testimonials, which people, is make sure you have some testimonials, because that's your clients bragging on you, right? It reinforces your guide section. And here is the services that we offer, right? So now they can see where we can help them. And there's the plan, right? Give them a plan of action. 1, 2, 3. Your plan to create a win-win for you and your customers now. 1, discover. 2, craft. 3, win. And then there's some body copy there that explains that. So there is that plan. And then we have here what we call a lead generator, a way to capture an email address so that we can put them in a nurturing campaign and just stay on top of mind. So this class will be that for those that haven't been here. So, and then the rest of whatever you need to put comes after you tell your story. This is a little bit about our podcast. And then if I had a blog, I put it in here. If I had news or clips, you put them in there, articles, but not before you tell your story. And there's your footer. Okay. So I'm going to stop that share. So I just wanted to show you how that happens in the framework. Okay. Now we're going to do a shift here. I'm going to bring up some websites, right? And from people that are here today, and we're going to, I'm going to take a look at them from that messaging framework of reframing your message for where we are right now. So let's do, here we go, share. Okay, so I'm bringing up Avangrid, right? Avangrid, for those of you that know, is one of the nation's largest energy companies, utility that specializes in renewable energy, right? Solar and wind. So this is their homepage, right? This is when you come to them. Now they have many pages, landing pages, but this is their homepage. And here's their header. Remember I said to you, what do you do on your header? Number 1, what do you do? Number 2, how do you make your client's life better? Number 3, what's your direct call to action? How do I buy from you? Okay, so here's their main message: maximizing Americans' energy production. Okay, so maximizing energy, that tells me of basically what they do. Obviously, they create They're creating energy, right? And then they have a little body copy about an energy leader providing essential services across 24 states, powering homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure. Okay, so this message gives me a sense of authority, but I really don't. I was going, what is the benefit right now for their customer, right? Remember what we said? How are you making your customer's life better? Okay, this could be accentuated here. We know what they do. Their direct call to action, not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. I see a button up here for Iberdrola, which is their parent company, but not a direct call to action here. Learn more is not a direct. So here's the thing. If I click on this, it's going to take me to another page, right? And I actually went to that other page. And then there's a whole other story probably happening over there. And I haven't even gone here, right? Which is where you need to tell your story. So when these other links that bring you all everywhere else can actually interrupt the story you're telling. Okay, so watch that. Carousels are another thing. This is a carousel, meaning, but there's multiple messages here, and we can't, if you give us 2 or more messages, or I would say 3 or more messages, people don't carry it in their heads. It's like overwhelm, right? So get your stake in the ground about what your message is now and build it from there. So I'm going to keep on going down, go back to this page, right? As we go down, here we go. It gets into articles about them and what they're doing, which is fantastic, but it's too early. I would tell your story here based on the framework, based on your customer, and then you supplement it. What I taught you today is really marketing and messaging from your customer's lens. It's all about them. Your customer's the hero, you're the guide, okay? And when you start talking about yourself all the time and not your customer loses interest. They're coming to your site or to you to solve a problem, their problem. So make sure you speak to it. Okay, so just kind of most of this is about stories and so forth. I would just say, tell me the story of what's happening now, and then bring in all of these later. Okay, if I have to click through, because as I mentioned, we're on these smartphone devices, and we're scrolling with our fingers. And as we scroll, what we're seeing is like headlines. Mostly we're scanning and seeing the headlines. And that's what they're reading. And if they're interested, then they'll dive in deeper and they can geek out on all sorts of technology if they want to. But your messaging and your headlines should be benefit driven for your customer. Okay, I want to go to another site. I'm just taking a look at time here. Here we go. So this was another person that volunteered today. And when I read it, here's their header, right? Here's their logo. And it says, working with landowners and communities to conserve the lands we love, now and forever, and to enrich connections to the natural world. Okay, so I'm a copywriter, right? So I'm just going to pick at it from that point of view. The first part of that sentence actually had their message in it. I'm guessing that number one, they're talking to landowners. Okay. Number two, they want to preserve the land for their communities. So they want landowners to preserve the land. Okay. And that's okay. So I get who they're talking to. And what they benefit, how do they benefit is to conserve land, but to enrich connections to the natural world. Felt like that part of the message could be later. Don't layer on too many things in your header or you will lose your audience, okay? Stay very clear and direct to those 3 things and then speak to it later. Now, after this next section, right? Remember, we go to the stakes, like what's going on now? How are we in trouble, right? Or what's the urgency to have this? So they have some body copy here, and I won't read through this. But what happens is that's not really being told, that story. I would say turn up the volume on that. Like, why is this so important to preserve, right? Or is land being destroyed or denigrated, but at what rate? Like, what is the problem here? And then you get to your value proposition. And I see this is sort of a value proposition. This is really their marketing message, which is preserving. But what do you like? What are the three big benefits of doing business with you, right? Is yes, preserving, but here there are a lot of other companies that do that too. Why you is I would be asking that question. Volunteering, that's more in the plan section. What, like here's the plan of action for you. Number one, volunteer, right? I would put that down in your plan section. And support, I think that's donating to you, which is should up here. They do have a button. They had a call to action button. Good for you. That's a direct call to action. So I would be developing their value proposition even more here. Then they get into activities and events. Okay. So remember I said all that goes after the story is told. So there's more to be told here. The plan, your lead generator, your guide section. Why should we be doing business with you? Right? So I would just say develop those pieces. They do have what they have here. I wouldn't call this a lead generator, but they do have, contact us. Many people may not do that because they don't want to give away their email so fast these days. Who needs another email? Give me a reason to do it. What asset are you giving me as your potential customer to that I'm going to give you my email and you're going to in turn help me, right? Some sort of asset. And then we get to the bottom. So there's some more work to be done there. And as far as from reframing, conservation is still a good message, right? In this administration, right? I would be talking to your landowner right now and asking them, how are they feeling about, this might be a prime time to be talking to them because of what's happening in the world. Okay. And I would put it as part of your message right up here instead of a more general one. Hope that was helpful. Okay. What else? This is what I wanted to do. I'm going to just do one more thing because I actually worked on a land very similar in Canada, a group called Project Forest that had a similar message to this. And I'm going to bring their landing page up to show you, juxtapose from here to what it could be, right? And so this is called Project Forest, and they're a Canadian group that preserves, rewild, they call it rewilding land in Canada and preserving it. So this page is targeted towards that landowner, right? And that's the customer, it's the landowner, and they want to convince them to like donate their land so that they can preserve it. So the header here is plant a legacy, right? And many of them are thinking legacy, like how can I leave my lasting mark, right? And then the header says transform degraded land into a thriving forest. Okay, now that's right. The problem is many of it land is it's overgrown and it's not doing anything. It's actually sucking from the earth. It's not having any real value, but you can transform it. They're going to help you do it to a thriving forest that will benefit community for generations to come. So see what happened there. Schedule a call, that's the direct call of action. The benefit is the transformation of your land into a beautiful forest. And then what do they do is it's really in their name. Project Forest is transforming land. Okay, so and the benefit is for generations to come. That happens right here. And here's the stakes. Here we go right into their value proposition. They've planted, and their guide, they planted 2 billion trees It increases biodiversity. It's no cost to you or low cost, and you get free sustainability reporting. See, it's very specific to what they do, not just a general message. It's why why landowners should work with them and versus everyone else out there. And here's their guide section. Your land is in good hands with Project Forest. More testimonials. They have testimonials from their clients, who they work with, and so that you can see yourself in that, from conservation groups to corporations to educational institutions and so forth. And then they have the plan. Discover, plan, and transform. Give them a plan of action. Here's their asset, their free asset, to build their email list. 5 critical questions you need to ask before you start a rewilding. So if I'm thinking of it, I might want to know what that is. Am I willing to give you my email? Yeah, I am to do that. And then they have a case study, a inspired quote, and then that's the end. But you see the story that's being told? That's what I want you to do with your message as it pertains to your customer's problem right now. Okay? So those are just some examples of it in action. And I'm going to, let me stop this share and go back to just to round up, and then I'll be asking, doing some Q&A. All right, so let me get to, hopefully this is it. Here we go. Oops. Sorry, guys. This is, why are we not moving? Hold on there. Technical moment. You know what I'll do? I'll just do it this way. You'll see part of my thing, just so I can get to the share. And there we go. I don't know why this is not advancing. Here we go. Okay. So I hope you all see that. So let me just do a wrap up of what we talked about today. Listen, I know I'm sounding like a broken record. Listen to what is your customer experiencing right now. Okay. I gave you examples of showing you how that you can change your message. Identify that one specific problem that they're experiencing, and then look at the 3 internal, external, and philosophical. Be the guide. Give them a plan. Call them to action, but stay true to your mission all the way through. Okay, so before we go into Q&A, I just want to say, if you have a specific messaging challenge, many of you might have been struggled with this and like, just I can't get to it. I'll be, for those that attended here today, schedule a one-on-one with me for free, right? And I will help you see where you are now and maybe where you need to go for your messaging. So we can do that. And if you're ready to dive in, say, listen, I want to just figure this out right now. So I am doing a full day workshop on April 11th that will be going through that whole homepage, right? I showed you all those sections, from the header to the stakes to the plan to your guide sec. We'll be going through each one of that so that you'll have your messaging done, right? And and you can put it up on your website or use it for a landing page and whatever your needs are. So join me for that full day. It's on April 11th. It's very reasonable for the full day. I'm giving a discount up until the 4th It's actually 15% off. It's usually $347, but it'll be $294 till this Friday. So I will send you a link, or actually we'll put that link right now into the chat where you can register if you're interested in that, and then you'll see kind of the breakdown of the day and what we're going to be planning. But if you're ready to dive in, roll your sleeves up, I'll be with you. And it's limited. There's a limited amount of people for this one dayer. So if you're interested, love to have you. There we go. And here you go. CPARS of mindovermarkets.com. That's how you get in touch with me. And but you can put your information in the chat too. So I'm going to stop the share here and open it up in the last few minutes to questions. I know I sort of just fire hosed you, right? There was a lot here. I realized that. And I want to ask you, are there any questions or comments? I don't know if there's anything in the chat here. I'll take a look. You can unmute yourself if you'd like to talk. I'm going to put my glasses on. Here we go. Oh, there's some thanking here. There's the chat message there for the event. So, questions, comments, thoughts? Rosa said it was helpful. Thank you. I'm glad it was. Are you experiencing how about in your chat, maybe you can jump in. Are you experiencing some shift in your business right now? Is now, after looking at these messages, right? Is your message dated, right? Are some of the words that you're using on your site a flag? How can you shift to talking to from who you are to what your client needs right now? Everyone's like, I'm not sure, Carolyn. There's a lot to digest here. So there'll be a link to this that you'll be able to go back. I know I gave you a lot of examples today, but what I really wanted to drive home for you is talk to your customer, right? They're going to give you the answer. And don't worry about the words right now. Yeah, if there's blatant words you got to get off your website, go ahead and do that. You might have already done it. But like find out what's happening for that customer of yours, what they're really looking to do during this time, what's standing in the way. Stay true to your message, stay true to your mission, right? And then pivot your message to meet them, right? With what your offerings are. Okay? So that's what probably the big takeaway I would like to wrap up with. And I have Rosa saying that as a therapist and a coach, I help clients with their business models, and everyone's businesses are changing. Right. So it depends what that business is, right? Are they in sustainability? Are they in health and wellness? Sustainability can go across many industries. I've worked in 25 of them all around sustainability, right? So they have one of the first things you could ask them, Rosa, is like, what does sustainability now mean to your customer? Ask them, what does it mean, right? And because that could change. In the administration right now, sustainability, even that word might have to be crafted differently. So I don't think the word sustainability is on that list, but if it's usually the words that couple with it. Sustainable business is not, right? Sustainable business, what is sustainable means like a business that can sustain itself for years to come. So there you can work on that level as well. So it's really about getting to the core of what their problem is and how your offer and your products could relate to that and align with it. But it's about them. So, yeah. All right, we're at the top of the hour. Any more questions or thoughts before we go? Everyone seemed being very quiet today. So I just want to thank you all for coming and spending an hour with me to learn about how to shift this, what we're in right now, right? So those big words that we love and we've dived into, you see how it's time to shift, not to change who you are, but shift how you say it so that it could be inclusive, even though we can't use the word inclusive, so that it could be inclusive, right? That no matter what your ideology, we still, at the core of it all, want a healthy generation for people, for years to come. Our focus might be our children, our focus might be the spotted owl, right? Whatever that is. But ultimately, where is that common space right now for all of us, right? So think along those lines. And with that, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. And feel free I'd love for you to join me for the full day. If you'd like to, really work your message, I will be available and we'll have a small group, so you'll get some one-on-one with me. And if you want to tackle something big, go ahead and contact me and I'll schedule a one-on-one with you. And we can talk about where you're at and where you want to go. So thank you, my friends. Hope to see you soon. Stay true, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.